Hello and welcome to the program. 22 years ago, Nigeria returned to democratic rule after about 17 years of military rule. Nigeria's return to democratic governance was hurriedly arranged after the crisis caused by the annulment of the June 12 presidential election. Now, it's been 22 years of democracy, but analysts are yet to agree if the country has made considerable progress in the last 2 decades. It's another celebration of Democracy Day in Nigeria, and of course, present-day challenges across the country have actually overwhelmed the problem, especially when you talk about the security challenges that the country is currently going through. Now, with economic challenges, political instability here and there, and continued fight against corruption and quest for a better Nigeria, how far can we say Nigeria has actually come? To many, the country has not made much progress democratically, but some are always of the opinion that Nigeria's 2 decades of democracy should not be compared to democracy that have endured over a century. Joining me now on the program to discuss more on this is ADEWALE, who is the former executive chairman of Amuwo-Odofin local government area of Lagos State. I also have Dr. Mondo UBANI, who is actually the former second vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association. Let me start by saying congratulations, Dr. UBANI, on the recent conferment of that honorary doctorate degree on you. It's of course a sign of appreciation of what you do for society. So congratulations, and I hope, as we say in Nigeria, that we're going to wash it soon, huh?
DEJI, thank you. I also want to do
so let me start with you, Dr. UBANI.
I'm currently...
what would be your assessment of our democracy so far, from 1999 to date?
Well, I think we can say we have made some progress in the fact that we have had uninterrupted democratic transition. I mean, from one democratic election to another, we have not had any interruption by the military. As it used to be, the people seemingly have been given the opportunity to make their choices of leadership from 1999 to date. I think we had the first election in 1999. The second one was either in 2003. There was another one in 2007. We had another one in 2011 and 2015, 2019. So it's been uninterrupted journey in our democratic struggle as a nation. So one can give kudos to Nigeria as a country for clearly achieving that feat, without allowing the military to intervene in our political process. We will probably, in the course of this discussion, look at how deep the democratic culture has been entrenched. But as for conducting election, which some other persons also will question whether it is free and fair, apart from the one that took place, of course, in June, the June 12 election, I think 1993 now, that was regarded as the freest and the fairest election that have ever taken place in our political history. Every other election has been very doubtful as to its credibility. So for me, as an individual, we say we have succeeded in conducting an electoral process that allow civilians to emerge seemingly without any military incursion in our political terrain.
Okay, let me go to you, Comrade ADEWALE. I mean, you heard him there. What would be your own take?
It's often said that the once democratic system is still far better than a military government. But notwithstanding, I believe that as a people, we've done well to balance and keep this democratic system that we have. What is left undone is to get square pegs in square holes, and the government themselves must have this leverage and open the space for more discussion for us to move on. And our constitution needs to be worked on. The opinion of people matter, Democracy is about people, and as much as the people want some shifts and some amendments, definitely the government should also open room for that.
Now, when you say our constitution should be worked on, I know one thing that is currently trending at the moment in the country today is the issue of restructuring, and you know, it's something that has been there for a long time, and but it's been a trending topic in recent times. So restructuring. So in terms of restructuring, what exactly would you want to see? What kind of restructuring would you be expecting to see? Because I know this is something that you also had campaigned for in the past.
Well, since we've all accepted to use the word restructure now, because prior to now, it has always been that we convoke a national conference to change the constitution and bring to bear a people's document. But I still strongly believe that within the context of restructuring, the people that drive the system as of now must understand that whatever that needs to be restructured, of course, must be driven by the participation of the people. I see what is going on right now in the National Assembly. I am yet to see any of the elected representatives go back to their constituency to discuss with their people. Before then, go back to their political party. What is the position of their political parties with respect to many of these parts of the Constitution that have been brought to bear for restructure? And after then, they go to the people, or perhaps the party go to the people first, take their position to the people, discuss it with the people. If the people decide to embrace their thoughts, fine. If the people refuses
but then
to
they've been
embrace those
holding
thoughts,
public hearing. Is that not enough? And apart from that, we know this process is still going to get to the state assemblies. The state assemblies will still hold their own public hearings as well.
The public hearing will not reflect the wishes of the people. It won't reflect it. An individual elected representative should not work with their own thoughts. They have a political party that have a manifesto. They have a program. So if you move on to have your various meetings as it is held now, without the input of your party, it amounts to nothing. So it is best that the party takes on that challenge to meet with the people and carry on their elected representatives. And whatever they agree as a document or as a resolution with the people, then they bring back to the National Assembly and, of course, work along other parties to increase their number. You must understand that democracy is about number. So if you don't have the larger number to reflect the popular opinion of the people, we will still be going on in circles.
Dr. UBANI, let me get your take on this issue of restructuring that you know, everyone seems to be talking about at the moment.
Have some problem with the structure of Nigeria. The federal system we operate in is clearly not federal in principle, not federal in character. We are operating a unitary system of governance and have actually not allowed efficiency to be entrenched in our process of governance. So people have argued that if you're operating a federal system of government, there should be a proper devolution of power to the federating unit. The concentration of power at the federal level made it to look like a person who is the one now giving doing favor to the federating unit, you know, is not making the system to function properly. There are issues that one think should be handled by the federating unit and not at the federal. Issue of policing is one of the issues people have made reference to. The issue of waiting for the IG to give instruction as to the policing of a state that is clearly in charge. The governor of the state is in charge, who is the chief executive of that state, who is the chief security officer, is not in tandem with our federal principle. There are also other issues of, like even this issue of power, light. Why should the federal be involved in determining the energy need of the federating unit? Why can't the states, at their various levels, determine their energy need, determine how they will distribute or, transmit and distribute the power itself? So because of the system we operate in, there is so much inefficiency. Anytime there is a breakdown at the federal level, all the federating units becomes a victim. So there are so many other issues, people have looked at and said, look, the best way to govern Nigeria would be to remove most of those things that are being handled at the federal level and allow the federating unit to handle them in order to give proper efficiency to the system and allow the kind of competition that took place under the 1963 Constitution that actually was federal, both in principle and in theory, later come into operation. Because we had a federal system that was in operation, but unfortunately, the military truncated it. And from 66 to date, we have never reverted to that system of governance. We have only operated a unitary system. And we have also seen where we are as a nation. We are sort of making progress. We are clearly retarded.
Let's quickly move forward with the discussion now. Unfortunately, we initially lost Comrade Adelibe. He's back now. Let me start with you, Comrade. Do you think in 22 years that not just that we as Nigerians, that you would say our democratic culture has grown so much that the electorates, for instance, have become democratically mature in terms of making choices now in terms of the kind of leadership they want at every level of government?
Well, that is a very good roadmap that you put in place, but you must understand that that roadmap must be driven by political education. It is just not to have a roadmap, but how do you intend to move the people along the journey?
No, what I'm saying, I'm not even talking about a roadmap now. I'm saying, would you say that that democratic culture has really grown and has become deep-rooted, that we are now politically mature?
Well, you've just said it, like saying 6.5 dozen. It is a roadmap. Our politics is mature. It's mature to the understand that people are voicing out and saying that we want this. You can see the clamor from the youth. They are saying that they don't want the status quo as it is. They want police reform. They want freedom of human rights and so many things. Some people believe that they should be on their own. They are calling for secession. You must also appreciate that that is also part a line item in our constitution. But how do we arrive at that? It's a missing gap. You understand? So it's like what Barrister UBANI just talked about, physical autonomy and all of those things. People believe that, look, we should be able to control our policing, control our energy requirements and all of these things. As much as we understand all of these intricacies and needs for ourselves as a people, as a region, and as a country, but how do we move it forward? That is where the political education comes in. And if you don't educate your people rightly well, then the quest and the way of getting power becomes a big challenge. For anybody to be a local government chairman now in Nigeria of today, that person must have nothing less than 10 to 15 million naira. That is a conservative amount.
Very conservative.
To be a governor now, you must have in the billions. To be a local government chairman now, it's not Tea Party. It's not about you telling them what you want to do, how you can do it, and all whatnot. It's about might. Some places it's about arms, the amount of arms that you have, and all of these things. And these things are going more crazy. So it is best now that we all sit down, you understand, as a people in our various enclaves. And let us even start with the reworking of our electoral system. We should leave room now for independent candidature. You understand? The more you leave room for it, the more the people now have that leeway. And the more political parties will have that ideological correctness, that people have other alternatives if things are not run properly well. People can use their individual character or pedigree to win even a local government chairman seat. You understand? People must also know that electoral bodies in the state structure must also be supervised by the central electoral body. Otherwise, we will just be giving room and avenue for bottling up that might burst and erupt more than what we saw in the NSAS crisis.
Let me ask you, Dr. UBANI, look, those who I suppose, or who are seemingly providing the kind of political education that Ayodele talked about, are the politicians. But you look at it, and you look at the conduct of citizens with relations to elections especially. Do you think they've been properly educated? Do you think they've been properly educated to imbibe the right democratic culture? Because it's something that, to be candid, I actually don't see.
Yeah, it's a very intelligent question. You ask yourself whether there has been any education at all. The virtues of democratic culture, has it been imbibed? Has it been taught? Has there been any teaching? And then, before you now talk about having good students that have learned, the habit of virtue, political virtue. There is no virtue in our political system. What we see is thuggery, issue of destruction, crises, killings,
money,
and a snatching of boxes. And I have looked at it. I have looked at our political system and our political culture, and I have also identified the reason for the do-or-die political process we embark upon in this part of the world. It has to do with the packs of office, what is available for the politicians when they come in. Because of the fact that the system, is very weak. I'm talking about institutions that are very weak. A governor can become a multi-billionaire the moment he comes in. The same thing with a local government chairperson. The same thing with the president. The system is so porous and open without all the checks and balances. For somebody to just come in and cash in and then become so rich at the expense of the people, because the institutions, as I said earlier, so the moment we don't define what people get in terms of reward system, the people can do any manner of thing in order to come into governance. And the worst of us are the ones actually who bulldoze themselves through because of the fact that they have so much money. As my colleague rightly pointed out, it is money politics. If you give so much money, not about ideology, they're ready to vote you in. And then the process of stealing the entire resources continues. So we must try as much as possible to really define the reward system.
Let me ask you this. How can we deal with this issue of money politics so that there's less emphasis on money and more emphasis on what, for instance, a candidate or anyone going for any political office at all, what that person is going to offer? What can we do?
Just hear me and hear me very well, Deji. What I'm trying to say is that what people get when they get into office is so humongous. I just recently got a judgment, I'm sure you're aware of it, against the National Assembly because the fact that they have been fixing salaries and allowances for themselves. And it took one Senator Shehu to reveal what each senator collects at the end of the month, even though I feel that amount is not the correct amount of money they take. But he said 13 million naira every month each senator takes home as his allowance and salary, and then that does not include all other allowances for being a member of the committee and of course the constituency project of about 200 million naira per annum. So these are the kind of money that goes into the pocket of few individuals at the expense of the people. And as long as these kind of things are available for those who come into public office, I can assure you that they will do all manner of things, including, making sure that the electoral system itself remains very uncredible. So they do all manner of things to be there, including killing, thuggery. So why don't we actually take into cognizance what people should earn and stick to it? A governor should not come in and when he's traveling to Abuja, he take private jet, and probably spend up to 7-8 million without any approval, without any budget for it. And nobody asks question, where is he getting this money to travel by private jet and all that? Whether there was no approval. So because these things are available, And they can call the Commissioner of Finance and say, bring me such amount of money. Put all their relations in hotels at the expense of the state, without any institution monitoring them and ensuring that that doesn't happen. But it doesn't happen like that in America. You and I know that if you want to buy any expensive watch as the president of America, you have to use our private money to do it. But here, the president has gone to, London, spent how many months at the expense of the state? Nobody even know how much was spent. So you don't do such things and expect the electoral system to be free and fair in order to entail the kind of leadership we want. So we must define what people should get. If it's only 200,000 naira somebody should receive, then somebody must ensure that it's 200,000 naira at the end of the month without any other thing added to them. And if they want to take another thing, somebody has to approve it. Without that process, I can assure you we'll never have free and fair election until Jesus comes. Mark my word. If you don't define what people get when they come into office very well in this country, we will never have free and fair election until Jesus comes. That is my statement, and I believe it, and I mean it, and I say it without any reservation whatsoever.
Comrade Ayodele, let me get your take on that.
The take on it is the level of enlightenment as it concerns interplays in an electoral process is very, very low. The civil society must get involved. I thank God that the senior lawyer is here. The NBA must also get involved. I remember when I was a student activist or in the student union then, we never knew what it meant to use money to attract people in order for them to vote for you. What we used then were programs and ideologies and big grammars and all of these things that people would tend to gravitate towards you and questions are asked. Tell me one political party in Nigeria of today whereby they go for retreats even every quarter of the year, unlike as it was pre-independence and immediately after post-independence, whereby you see people going for retreat to discuss about the program, the happenings, and how they want to administer their programs to their governance and all whatnot. That is why you could see that in the Western region, all the governors or all the heads of different enclaves concentrated primarily on free education. You could see that in the Northern region, people focus more on agriculture. In the Eastern region, they focus more on commerce and of course, science, technology, and all whatnot. Immediately after the Civil War, when democracy was taken out of the system, a lot of gaps were created, new cultures were brought in, and I think what even messed it up more was when the old politicians were told not to get involved in the new political system that evolved during the Babangida transition and all of that. No matter how bad it is, you cannot throw away the baby with the bathwater. There's something good within the system that those old politicians were running, even though it was laced with corruption and all whatnot. So we must, as civil society agents, as change agents, backed up by the media, backed up by the NBA, decide to give the people the right political culture, the right education that they deserve. Because when you empower them with information, they can now have that resistance to resist financial things that new politicians are using more within their system, and they can also engage the system, particularly when it comes to recalling of National Assembly members and legislative members and all whatnot. They can also pull that number that is needed and move into political parties. Because what you have now is lesser number of people that have ideological correctness. By the time you populate the number, then I can assure you that with that number, they will also use it to elect people that can move the system forward. And the little of those people that have that correctness will also align forces together in order to move our system much more better.
Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on the program, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to security matters. Don't go away. Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal. How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.